Hey everybody, Steve Ritter again. So, we've all had a lot of time on our hands, and I've had nothing but. One of the many projects that I've been working on around the house, as you've kind of been following along, is all my garden and all the plants and everything else I have kind of going around the house. Um, you guys seem to like this, and of course, I like it, and my wife and daughter always kind of tease me because that's kind of making my rounds. I kind of wore out a path around the house, making my rounds around the yard, checking all my plants and stuff. But I got to. I can't. I watch a lot of times people talk about burning through Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all the shows, and I can't do it. I don't know. I just feel like and no offense if that's you. I mean, there's plenty of good shows to watch, and don't get me wrong, the wife and I watch a lot of shows at night, but I mean, just all day sitting around watching, I don't know. I feel like there's too much to do. I got too much going on. So I got a little work from that I do at home with my job, and then of course doing these little projects around and cooking and the videos, and certainly that's been a blessing, and it's been quite the blessing and a legacy that Mom left for me to keep doing this, and it kind of keeps my mind going and all the stuff. So I'm gonna, she kind of did this kind of thing too, so I'm gonna kind of keep it going. But we'll head out in the yard, kind of do another turn around the house and walk, and I'll kind of talk about the things I think about and looking at, and you guys just tell me if you're tired of seeing these or whatever, or just don't watch. How about that? But I guess that'll be my feedback. If nobody watches this video, I'll quit doing them. But anyway, I'll kind of go through that, and believe it, if you have any suggestions or hints or clues or tips, I'm all ears. I've done a few, and on the things that I've done, the cooking or whatever, that people have said, well, hey, have you tried this or done this or whatever? And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. That's great. So that's what I love about this too, because believe me, I'm not the end all be all, far from it. So that's kind of the way I see this too, is just is sharing, and hey, have you tried this? Somebody sent me a recipe for a chicken dish that I'm gonna try. And I kind of doing that with the Facebook page, the fans of Miss Phyllis Stokes. So if you haven't checked that out, if you got Facebook, go check it out. But that's kind of the venue there for their trying out and sharing recipes. Or, hey, I tried this. Somebody mentioned they made her tomato pie. They usually make it a couple times a year. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's a community. It's kind of like the feel like neighbors. Like we're standing out the back fence and going, hey, I tried this, and you all try this, and hey, what do you do about this? And that's kind of what it's all about, right? So that's what I'm going for. Is it working? Anyway, so we'll roll out here and check out the yard, and I got some updates on a few things. So here we go. On the back porch here. So we went out of town with family. So here's those hydrangeas, and boy, they really flowered up nice, as you can see. These limelight hydrangeas is what these are called. They this nice white color. Now these are like everywhere around Charleston, and a lot of folks have planted them along the side. I have to keep them up on the porch because that's the deer entrance right there. See that right there? That's their little door. I'll show you here in a second. But I cannot keep hydrangeas out in the yard, or the deer will eat them down to the root. So, in fact, our neighbors have one. I can't see it. It's way a little tiny. That's as big as it gets because the deer just will keep it eaten back. So I had to keep it on the porch here, and we went out of town for about 5 or 6 days, and as hot as it is right now, you can see all the interior leaves here just died off. So you got to keep them watered. I couldn't set them out we got plenty of rain, but I couldn't set them out in the rain because the deer would have got to them. So I've heard techniques of people burying like clay pots in the ground and filling them up with water as kind of a long-term slow water solution, and yeah, that would work, I guess. But you can see how big these have got, how long these have got here. So when all the leaves eventually they'll eventually all dry up and fall off in the fall when it gets colder. But and then I'll cut these back a little bit, But you can see how bushy they got big. We had these planted all around the yard, and the deer just ate them up. So one thing you're probably noticing that's missing is the tomato plants. My Cherokee purple, I got 2 of them off of there, actually 3. That was it. I can't, I'm not having a lot of luck growing tomatoes around here. Certainly not in containers. They just don't, I just can't get them to work right. So we'll walk out in the yard here. Like I said, I kind of lifted these up. Grass is looking good. I've got, this used to be a tree here, this little spot there. And this year I put some dirt in there and then planted some grass. And again, talking about frugal, when I would pull up the centipede, of course, it puts out like tendrils, and you can see like right here, it puts out these tendrils, and they kind of runs everywhere. That's why, I guess that's why they call it centipede, because it looks like centipede, the little runners they put out. So when I pull them up, some of them that have roots on them, I would plant them there. That worked out pretty nice. Bird feeders up high enough where the deer won't get to it now. I lifted these wax myrtles up here. I really like that look. Lift it up. So here's kind of where I dump my, this is my, it's like King Kong. I put an offering out here for the deer. Maybe they'll stay away from the rest of my plants, but that's just a couple of mangoes that went really soft on me that we chucked out here. And you know, eggshells, things like that. And then when I mow the grass, I dump the grass clippings along the side here just to kind of keep the undergrowth and grass beat back a little bit from the forest there, because you can see it's like a jungle back there. So these things, what these are called, pussy willows or something maybe, I don't know. But in the spring, a bunch of these little, there's all these little, they look like they'll start popping up out of the ground. So not a big, they look nice, and when the wind blows and all that, but man, they put them out, the seeds and everything else out there, and it's tough. So anyway, you can see this little path here. That's the door there. That's where the deer come through right there. You can see I've had some these little things off the palm tree that I cut off. I had them kind of stacked up trying to block it off, and they just walk right through it. So, but they walk right through there. And then they also come through over here. There's another little path right through there, you can see. So a lot of the plants you see here, it's like, oh, that's odd. Why is that there? A lot of these were like plants that I had around the house that, you know, didn't want them anymore, or they weren't working out. Like this one right here, this palm used to be over on the side of the house. It just wasn't doing well at all. So I just, rather than just throw it away or whatever, I'll stick it in the ground over here and see what happens. So. This was one that was not doing well at all over by the air conditioner. It was planted. It used to be there. There's just not enough soil or anything for it there, so I moved it. It's hanging in. It's growing, so it's doing all right. Let's see. Got an old squirrel nest up there. It keeps dropping pine branches down. That squirrel's like rolling around up there or something, but I'm not sure what's going on. Something got in there and got him, I don't know. There's a lot of squirrels around here. Let's go around the yard. There's my tea olives there, so you can see, I cut them back. You can see where I cut them back earlier. And you can see the cut here. That's about how high I cut them, and you can see all the little growth that's coming. So that's how I thicken it up, because these will get pretty leggy. And keeping them kind of cut back. You can see all of this is all new growth here. So, but when it cools down a little bit, they'll put out a nice, very fragrant flower. It smells like heaven back here when they flower up. So, some lamandra here that grew back. So here's my squash. Again, I'm just not getting anything off this. Plenty of flowers. You can see, I mean, it's growing like squash does. It keeps growing and growing, and it just won't. I think it's just putting stuff in a container like that just doesn't work. Now I had those are peanuts plants right here, so those are coming along. This one right here had it in a container, and it was looking like that. It just real light colored, so I'm like, well, let me put it in the ground. Maybe it just needs some, I don't know, more in the ground. But that's all doing fine. This is from peanuts that I planted from the boiled peanuts. So they're doing real fine, I think. I thought I saw on one of these flowers the other day, which hopefully means there'll be some peanuts in there. That'd be nice. Yeah, that's a nice experiment. I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to see what happens. You can see we haven't been getting any rain here in the last week. Rain barrels dry as a bone. And then here's that potato plant that I grew from the peelings somebody suggested. So I put a whole bunch of them down there, and I got one of them out of it. So not a real effective way, but it worked. I mean, if you're not going to fry up the potato peels, then I guess wouldn't hurt to stick them in the ground, see what happens. So that's coming along fine. Now, I believe that when the leaves start turning color and curling up, that the potatoes are done. So the ground here is not very good at all around the house. I think I showed you before, but I would put grass clippings down so that you see a little bit of this topsoil that's developed, and that's from the grass that's broken down and all. But you can see it's pretty shallow, and then once you get in here, it's all that packed sand and clay that they put down for the house foundation. When they build these houses, they'll just put a solid layer of that down. So I trimmed these bushes back a little bit. It's a little bit more uniform, but where some of them are getting kind of leggy, and that was from when I cut them back in spring. So I cut them, and then I just pitched the leaves back over behind them. You might be able to see a few of them back in there. Yeah, see back in there. Again, the whole idea is I don't want to box it up, or I don't want to bag it up and have them take it away to a landfill. I want to harvest that carbon from those leaves and branches and everything in my own plant. So these are real nice when they produce flowers and little berries that actually you can eat. So I can't remember the name of these. I can't remember. Lambada? No, that's the forbidden dance. So I'm not sure. This is crepe myrtle, white flowers on this one. And you can see the flowers only grow on new growth, and you can see each of these long, skinny branches coming out, and at the end of it be the flowers. So it's really pretty now. And then once they produce these little berries here. So I don't like try to grow them or anything else. They fall and get all over the place here. But let's see, there's so I'm gonna probably, like this past year, I cut it, you can see kind of where I cut it way back, and I probably won't cut back that far this next year. I'll probably cut it up somewhere up here, get more branches coming out, I think. But real pretty. I like the white ones. Pulled up the old dill because it was just old and nasty looking. Again, here's another squash plant that I just moved here. Leaves look real nice and healthy, but it's just not producing anything. So I don't know if the deer come, and looks like something's coming, pinched off flowers and everything else. So there's a little baby dill plant right there that trying to get going. This soil right here, I had a raised bed right here. I had a board that I'd gotten, a 2x6, and had laid it lengthwise up, and then I filled this area with potting soil and dirt, topsoil, and this is where I had some okra, and I had okra that were up, this high. I mean, 6.5 feet high okra that the deer just got. I mean, they just ate it to the stem. Oh, that was like heartbreaking. So, because that okra, man, I was pulling some great okra off that thing. Okra goes real well around here. This parsley, we're about ready to pull this up because it's just about spent. it's just not doing very well. It's got these little flowers coming out of it there that I try to keep pinched off, but you get these small little skinny little leaves like that. This is Italian parsley, I think. Chives continue to do real well, and of course the thyme has just gone nuts. I'm gonna have to do something with the chicken here and use this up. So this is the celery that I planted. Slow but sure. I think it's probably too hot for it right now. I keep it plenty watered, but and there's basil. Now again, this is all the argument for keeping it nipped off, because it bushes up. Otherwise, it'll shoot up and run on you, and then it gets all bitter. So keeping it kind of cut back, which that's probably a lesson in there, isn't it? God prunes our hearts from time to time and brings things on our life, and it's for the best, isn't it? Prunes things out of our life for our own health. Kind of see that in nature. I think Peter talked about that, about how God reveals himself in nature. I think so. The cilantro died. Here it is. Just too hot. I don't know. Arlene thought maybe I was watering it too much. But as I pulled it up, this is kind of cool. This is what I found. This is a mint, and this is what I was talking about mint taking over everything. This branch kind of went over into the other pot and then got in the dirt and then put these roots out, and here's another, and then you can see the limbs about to come out here. I mean, it's gonna be another plant. So you probably could cut this back, cut this limb off, and plant it, and you'd have another mint plant. So anyway, so the mint's doing pretty well there. A couple of palms on the front porch there. Those are thirsty plants. And then let's see, kind of last little bit here. Palms are doing real well. That's a new one we had to plant. That one's always done pretty well. There's sweetgrass here, which they use to make baskets around here. I think I talked about that. Here's my new crepe myrtle we had planted, and the deer apparently love crepe myrtle, as they keep pinching it off and eating it. Between the deer and the beetles, this thing is having a hard go at it. So hang in there, little buddy. So that's a new palm that we planted as well. Doing well. And this is a lesson I learned the hard way here with sweetgrass. Is I went around the spring and I took some fertilizer and just put handfuls down. Sweetgrass, boy, it doesn't need fertilizer. It does just fine. It grows in pretty poor soil. Doesn't need it, and it ended up making a bare patch there. So, and then just keeping these clipped back. I cut these back in the spring too, and they're taking off like crazy. Now these do like fertilizer, and the ground around here is not very good close to the house because of the way they pack that sand and clay down for the foundation. So I put fertilizer in, and they do a whole lot better than a lot of the other neighbors' plants around here that don't do that. So you can see, like this one here, see how long and leggy it got. I'll probably trim this off in the spring and cut it back, so that I'm trying to keep it even and uniform, nice and bushy. It makes a nice front to the house. But these things will get pretty tall. They were all the way up to the bottom of that window right there before I cut them back. So anyway, so that's tour around the house. That's the latest. Just let me know if you have any questions, or if you got any tips, I'll take them too. Oh, look at that, there's a little baby, one of those lizards. Whoop, little guy, or girl. See him right there on that leaf? These things are all over the house. Around, well, not, they're around the house, I should say. Little tiny one. It's probably the son of the one that was on the car that time. So they're all over the house. Now, my wife has a problem with them because they leave these all over the place. But I'm like, well, each of those things are bugs that they've eaten, so I don't have a problem with that. So they keep the bugs eating back. See, there's another one. All over the place. I love it. As long as there's no poisonous snakes around, that's fine with me. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the tour around, and let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you later.